Yeah, I guess the hottest topic is the one that the county commissioner sent up a little distress signal about, which is the budget. Um, right now, there's revenue pullback from the state and more requirements for counties to pay higher amounts than they've been paying. Where do you see a solution, Mike?
I don't, and that's what's disturbing. We're really ringing the alarm bells to try to let people know that in the status quo. And to preface all my comments, this is just my view as an individual councilman. But my view is that we are really at a crisis point due to funding and costs and spending that's been mandated for us. So as it stands now, as much as I trust, my teammates on the council, as much as I trust our county manager and our county staff, yeah, we've been dealt a really poor hand, and so we will get through it. The question is how, and I don't know the answer yet. I wish I did.
As a follow-up, I noticed that Dorchester is one of three counties in Maryland that don't charge cable companies for using the public right of way. And it's also one of the few that don't collect any impact fees from developers or builders. And so I'm wondering, why should residents shoulder the tax burdens while these companies get a free ride?
Yeah, so that's actually the conversation when I ran for office that I hoped I would be having. How do we fine tune this machine? How do we make sure that, different entities are paying their fair share, or what is the best practice for this type of thing? Unfortunately, with the budget crisis now, we've been plunged into water that's so deep that we're trying to learn, hey, this is how this is how you learn how to swim. This is how you build up your stamina. And instead, we've been, thrown headfirst into really rough waters. To talk specifically, though, as far as the franchise fees, I mean, that's a great point. It's a great item for conversation. I heard your report the other day, going off of what Queen Anne's does. Queen Anne's about 40% bigger population wise, it'd be a couple 100,000, which not dismissing that, certainly is an item for consideration. As far as impact fees, the same thing. We have actually an impact fee that we waive every year, and that's a strategic decision and a conversation that I've been a part of for two budget cycles now, and that I continue to agree with. We're in the midst of among other things, challenging here locally, a housing crisis. We are facing in the housing market, we're facing the things like sprinkler mandate, which can increase the cost of a residence, $20,000 or $30,000. A constituent just told me the other day that they built a new structure, and for whatever reason, they had, even though they don't have an EV, they had to put an EV charging port. That's an extra 2,000. So for a $5,000 impact fee, which is in our books, and in the county, roughly about 20 houses per year. Again, I'm not saying, oh, that amount of money doesn't mean anything. Yeah, certainly it's meaningful, but that's trying to strike a good balance here. Like we need more building here. We need more houses. Of course, we don't want to change the rural nature and the wonderful bucolic nature of our county at some precipitous rate, but we need more housing. We need more new construction. There's houses in my neighborhood, 3-bed, 1-bath, that are selling for, prices that I could not afford. I was blessed that I was able to get in at the right time with the right interest rate. I couldn't afford to buy a smaller house with less bathroom or less square footage. And so the pressure on the housing market has to be alleviated. So the impact fee conversation is, again, a good one to have. And, I think we should continue having it every year. I think it would also be one of the things that came up in our strategic discussion about impact fees is if there's a larger development that would perhaps have a broader impact, like on a local elementary school or something. But these are high echelon, high functioning questions. They're strategic questions. And they are, unfortunately, they're not going to be able to be let's flip the switch and we can fix this thing that is being passed down to us. There's not the money there within those things to be the entirety of the solution.
At the most recent council meeting, you and the other commissioners discussed federal spending projects. Are you aware of any programs or grants for the county that are in danger of elimination under the federal cuts going on?
I am not. I don't have any knowledge or insight about that. I do know, just speaking from my own view, the situation at the federal level is certainly very dynamic in ways that uh, aren't really precedented. So my view is, and I think that a lot of people are in wait and see mode about the federal. A lot of people are in wait and see mode. Certainly, as we start to formulate our budget, we're waiting for these things to, be clarified at higher levels because that's, there's a question about federal funding to the state, and is the state going to have to pass on more cost to the county, which would be, beyond catastrophic. So I'm not aware of anything specific at this time, but the picture at the federal, state, and local level is still emerging.
I saw there's a group of small communities in South Dorchester who are looking to form a township in order to avail themselves of grants and other support. And do you think this looks viable?
Yes. So the thing that I like the most about that is twofold. And the first component that I think is great is we are in a world where advocacy and having a voice and also having a target sometimes for grant funding is really important. I think it's a great conversation to have. The second thing that I am really excited about that this conversation is happening is not only the conversation, but the chance, to do one of the great tenets of the American Republic, and that's if it continues to move forward, that the voters will have a chance to speak on it, in the ballot when they cast their ballot. So I think it is a great conversation to have, and something that I know that emerges from conversations like this is that a lot of the things that actually, frankly, constrain life in more rural parts of this county, or even in less rural parts of this county, are regulations or rules or laws or mandates that are passed down to us that we're not in control of. The Dorchester County Council's not in control of the fact that 45% of our county is in the critical area, where we have no control over that. But that is a conversation that pertains to everybody that lives in the county, particularly anybody that lives in that 45% of the county. So I like it that it is acknowledging that there are multiple strata to the political situation here in the county. And I like the fact that the voters and residents potentially can have options, because that's options is power.
With all the concern about schools and funding and performance, does the county council have any influence with the Board of Education?
So the county council, our input to DCPS is, the sum of money that we give them. And that is something that is set, there's a maintenance of effort number that basically we had come to expect a regular increase. So essentially, beyond public advocacy on platforms like this, we really don't, there is an elected board of education. There is a superintendent that they appoint. That superintendent, it's phrased that superintendent is the board's employee, and then the rest of the staff and teachers respond to the direction of the law and the superintendent. So, my view as an individual councilman is, the insight that I can do, or the way I can help, is to make people aware of what's happening there, to ask people to participate in that process as well, to be available to my friends on the Board of Education, and to make sure to do my part that the county council, the Board of Education, the county manager, the superintendent are all communicating. Because the last thing we need with all this onslaught of challenges, the last thing we need is to not be communicating and interacting the way we should. I'm honored to be one of the two council members that is kind of does monthly liaison meetings with a Board of Education representative and superintendent and the county manager. And I will say that the spirit of cooperation is strong. My confidence level in Dr. Thompson, from knowing him, interacting with him, and seeing how he performs is high. But just like the county council has been dealt a very strong hand, not only from above, but also from the way that things have played out in the past. In the same way, Dorchester County Public Schools has very strong directives that they did not have any input on, that are not escapable or amendable, and also long-term things like, where the schools are, the we can't control the choices that were made in capital construction 30, 50, 70 years ago. So they're playing a very difficult hand too.
Dorchester has been behind for 2 years with its annual Maryland state audits, financial audits, and it's behind now by a couple of years. It's the only county in Maryland that's lost its credit rating. Can you give us any insight into why the county's audits are outstanding and when they might be caught up?
Yes, so I know that this is a regular topic that's been reported on, and I don't have anything new to add to latest statements that were made. I personally ran for office because I wanted to be part of making sure that this county government was as high efficiency and high functioning as possible. Clearly, it's an impediment to us to try to be high functioning, to be behind in audits. But as I said, without making any excuses, because while something cannot be your fault, it still is your problem. It's something that I believe, have worked diligently to overcome. And I do have a good degree of confidence that that will be behind us. Does that help us now? It certainly does not. But you do what you can and you move forward. So as far as specifics, I don't have any updates to share as an individual councilman right now.